Hey everybody, it's Mike here, Mike Arboit, and I'm here with Jarett Metcalfe from Inner Compass. Right?
Yeah,
It's
Inner.
Inner Compass. Yeah. So,
We'll learn about that.
what exactly is Inner Compass?
So basically, Inner Compass is a company that I formed about 4 years ago, but really started to take off about a year and a half ago, which is really focused on mindset coaching, specifically prosperity mindset coaching, success, high performance coaching, that is focused on mostly helping entrepreneurs, business owners, those types of people basically hit a whole other level, like make quantum leaps in their results, like major breakthroughs where it's like they may be doing well, they may not be doing well, but wherever they are, they want more, and not just a little bit more. They want a lot more, but they've been struggling to get it. They've been trying to get it. They've been running around in circles trying to get it, and they just haven't gotten the result. And they've been racking their head against it, and they just can't figure it out. And they're sick and tired of doing it by themselves, trying to figure out why it is they're not getting where they want to go. And they probably worked with 10 different coaches or different experts that are focused on their strategies and their tactics and the different ways that they're going to, work with the business to get there. They're still not getting the result. And when they come to me, it's very clear what I'm basically doing is I'm working with them at the level of the subconscious mind, where it's like, what is it that you want? What's your goal? And what's actually in your mind that's limiting you, stopping you from achieving it, like actually holding you back and holding you down and keeping you from doing the things that you need to do and being the person you need to be so you can get what you want, because there's no other reason. Because when we look at like the information that's out there, there's unbelievable amounts of strategies that work, tactics that work, approaches that work. So why isn't it working? Right?
Yeah.
We can always daisy chain it back to that. And then I put that inside of a larger framework called Thinking the Results. And we take you through tried and true success principles that millionaires and billionaires have used forever, to actually achieve success. And then I basically coach people through that process. And it always works.
Yeah.
It always works. And the only reason why those things don't work is actually the mindset.
Yeah.
They don't actually have the mind that's actually capable of succeeding. They have a mind that's actually going to make it impossible for them to get past a certain point. So everyone has their own kind of context. It's like, I like to think of it that's like, we all have a box that we're in, and some people have been brought up or just naturally predisposed to have a box of a certain size, so they can run so far with their rope.
Yeah.
And then they hit the wall. And we call the wall the comfort zone. Right? The comfort zone is very simple. It's like, it's the boundary of the programming in my subconscious mind. And I used to make games. I was a video game designer and then a producer. I worked at EA for many years. And the incredible thing as I started to learn about this is I realized just how much a game, like an AI system in a game, the human mind really is, from the point of view of how the subconscious works.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this is how I help so many people. Like when I used to do high performance coaching for all of the people I work with on my teams to help tune up the team and make the team really perform well to build these games. And then later when I was teaching game design as well, and how come certain students would just fly and get jobs and other people with the same information, no matter how good we made the information, they wouldn't get there. And I was like, it doesn't really matter at a certain point how good the technological knowledge and skills and information you give people. That's not the determining factor that is the median line of success and failure, and to what degree. It's the mind.
Yeah.
And not the conscious mind. The conscious mind is this incredibly plastic thing that can entertain any idea at any point in time. But whether you're going to do it or not, and to what degree you will do it, and with what level of inner resistance and the kind of fear or emotions you're going to have around it while you're doing it, that's not in the conscious mind at all. That's completely in the subconscious mind. And so a lot of people have these great ideas and they'll never do them. Or they'll have this great idea and they'll start and they'll fail. And failure is not a problem, but failure is a problem if you continually keep failing at the same things and never getting past that.
Yeah.
And when I see that, I'm like, red flag. It's almost probably 100% in that subconscious mind.
Yeah.
And so that's what my company is really focused on, really helping people achieve the level of abundance, prosperity, success they want, but really doing it by liberating their mind of the limits that are in there.
And like turning a negative into a positive, because a negative can easily become a positive. And not just dwelling on the negative all the time, because a negative mind frame is not a healthy mind frame for decisions.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's actually really funny, but it's like, I remember a year ago, about a year. Yeah, almost exactly a year ago. There was a bunch of goals I was trying to hit. And I was just like, I was getting so pissed off. I was like, why is it month after month I'm not hitting this particular goal? And I'm like, what is wrong? Of course I wasn't thinking about me. And I was like, what is wrong? And I was getting so aggravated. Like just like frustrated and pissed off. Like just I was very angry about it. And I was like, why can't I get past this one level? And then it was just hit me like, I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I teach this, but it's amazing how with other people, you can see their blind spots a million miles away, but you don't see your own. And the reason why you don't see it's not in the conscious mind, it's in the subconscious mind. So you don't see what you really are. And I was like, I'm in total resistance to my results, meaning the results keep showing me that I'm not doing something a certain way that I need to be to get the result I want. And the result keeps showing me, right, the cause and effect chain I've been putting out. Every cause has its effect. I've created my result, but I wasn't acting like that. No. Which is funny because what I teach is all about that. But for myself, I'm not looking at what I was causing. And I'm going, I keep getting this result. What is going on out there? I'm looking out there. Like, what is going on out there that's causing me to get this? And I'm like, it has nothing to do with what's out there. It was me. But because I was in so much resistance to accepting the result, I couldn't see how I was contributing to it. And the second I was like, accepted that, I was like, okay, well, what am I doing that's causing this result? And it was like, the answer was there in a second. And it changed everything. All of a sudden, I'm like, okay, I know exactly what to do. I started to do things in the way that, like, was going to work. And I started getting different results. But the truth is, I wasn't in the headspace before to receive the answer because I was in complete resistance to the failure I was experiencing. I was hating the failure. I was hating the result. I didn't like it, right? And it was annoying me. And I was not wanting to accept that I was causing that. And didn't want to just sit there and just kind of be at peace with the result, right? The result is just a result. And when you see that it's just results, it's just information, you can go, well, why am I getting that? Why is that happening? And you can actually look at what is the cause. And when you can do that, out comes all this beautiful information. But most people get stuck in a loop because they won't accept the gift in the failure, in the mistake, in the setback, right? Or even in the emotion that they're having. It's like, what is this anger trying to tell me? What is this hating my result trying to tell me? It's all information. We don't just have emotions. The emotions are messengers of exactly who we're being in relation to ourselves and other things. And if you can actually sit there in the stillness for a second and listen to what it has to say, is everything you need to know to move forward. But you'll never get there so long as you're completely closed to that, because you're like, I don't want to feel this way. I don't want these results. I don't like this. I don't want this. You can never get to the truth. And the truth is honestly exactly what you need. And it really comes, I think, from a lot of us being brought up with this idea that failure is bad, mistakes are bad, you're a loser if you're failing, it goes on and on. But when you realize that success really is this progressive realization of a worthy goal, and that so long as I'm committed to moving towards my goal and I'm working towards it, and I'm persistent in that I am a winner, I am succeeding, because every time I fail, every time I make a mistake, every time something doesn't go the way that I want, and I can sit down and make peace with it and understand why, I become a little bit more aware of how to succeed.
That's perfect.
You know what I mean?
Example.
And so we don't just go straight into success. It's this course correction process, and we fail our way into success through this trial and error process. If you knew how to succeed before you started, it wouldn't be a worthy goal. Because if you think of it like a game, I mean, life is structured exactly like a game. I think this is why I'm really why I love what I do, because I feel like I never left games in a way. I'm still in games. I'm just playing the game of life. But if you look at the structure of a game, it's all a series of challenges in most games. There's some games that don't, but almost all games are structured in challenges. Well, people do not generally enjoy a challenge that is no challenge. Meaning, once you've mastered a challenge, it's no longer a challenge for you because you know exactly how to do it. And then it becomes boring. And so there's a level of challenge we call, the edge, where it's like it's the right level of challenge to keep you fully engaged, fully in the flow, fully in the zone. It's not so hard that you're going to fail completely. Right? And it's just like a wall you can never get past. And it's not so easy that it's just a breeze. And then when we pick a goal that we really want, that's big, it's always going to be that goal that's the next right challenge for us. But if we knew how to achieve it, we wouldn't want it. Because it would mean that we've already mastered it, which means we've already done it, or something so close to it, it's a waste of our time. And most of us, because we've been programmed so much about like failure and mistakes and like safety, that we keep choosing these goals that we already know how to achieve, or we think we can get because it's not really far out of it, and then it's boring to go after. It's no fun. But it's safe, and there's no failure, there's no risk, there's no nothing. But guess where you end up?
The exact place you were already at.
You know what I mean? So like, I always work with clients where it's like, my biggest thing is, it's like, it has to be this goal that you really want. It's got to be out there. It's got to be big. It's got to be this beautiful goal that you really love. You really want it. Like, you're fired up to get. But man, does it make you shit your pants? Right? You're so scared that you're going to fail, and there's a very good reason. It's so outside of what your subconscious programming is built to be. Right? Your subconscious programming, all the habits you've ever created, all the beliefs you've ever had about yourself, they're not in that world. This is a whole different ballgame. And when I think about it as a quantum leap, it's like leaving a context and entering another. It's this giant expansion. And if you were already there, what would be the fun? You know what I mean? There's no fun in it. And it's just like a game. It's like game designers got it right, especially the ones for mid-core, hardcore games. It's like you structure the goal and the challenge in such a way that you got to stretch. But stretch comes with risk. Stretch comes with pain. Stretch comes with failure and mistakes. I mean, how many people have played a game that's actually truly challenging where they nailed that level the first time? They didn't. You got to work at it and keep getting better, and you learn the rules. You learn what works. You expand your awareness. You keep getting better and better until you got it. Then what? You move to the next one. And that's the natural progression of growth. So that's what my company's really all about, is like helping people do that. And it's funny because it's never become more relevant than right now in my lifetime. So I mean, everybody needs kind of a little bit of coaching. I feel like everybody's brains are their own limitations right now, where there's a lot of can't. And I think it's almost like people forgetting about themselves and what drives them and what their values are, and are just throwing them out the window. And I feel like it's almost that whole, you ever like hear the saying about like therapists, where it's like therapists need the most therapy because they help so many other people throughout the day, that when it comes to themselves, they never think about how to make themselves happy. And I just think that's a lot of today is trying to impress others or do things for others, and it limits you, and it limits what you can do for yourself, your business, your family, your anything, if you're literally letting everything be controlled and everything be almost like a straight line of life. And nothing is a straight line. You're gonna, for all those positives you're going for, there could be all these positive steps of the way, with a couple negative hard times. But once you get to that goal, what do you remember? Do you remember the hard times? No, you don't remember it at all. You just remember, like, I got to my goal that I wanted to get to. If somebody's going to run a marathon, and they train, and it's the hardest time of their life training, never done it before. They see the progress, their mind is fighting them like, you can't do this, but they're like, no, I'm going to do this. They're puking because they're running so much, they're doing all this. They get to that marathon, they do it. Do you think they're ever going to remember all the trials and tribulations, like all the hard times? They may remember, but they won't remember it in a negative point. Right? So they'll look at it with, a loving eye, where it's like, wow, I did that. And look at the result. And it can be hard, because it's like, we all have those moments on that path to that thing that we really want, where it's like, you want to quit. You get the result, but you know what? That is just what I would call, like, putting steel, right? It's like, Napoleon Hill is a famous man who wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich. And, he said, like, carbon is steel, right? It's like, what is that? It's that thing that makes it super strong. And without the carbon and the steel, it's just a brittle, weak thing. And when we look at the challenges we have in life, that's what builds the character of strength. If we didn't have a challenge that almost broke us, we wouldn't really have a reason to grow. It's when we reach the breaking point that we stretch. And it's the same, as a wrestler. It's like, when do your muscles grow?
Yeah.
If you never go to close to the breaking point where they're fatigued and they actually tear the muscle a little bit, they never grow.
No.
They just stay the same.
Yeah.
And so it's like we need to build those challenges that actually force us to have to break out of that paradigm, break out of that context that we've been in, and we stretch through that. We face the fear, we face the pain, and we break through it.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, we find, oh shit, you know what? I'm still here, because it actually feels very real when we're breaking through that wall.
Yeah.
That we won't survive, we can't take it. I mean, that is quite frankly the thing that traumatizes us in life. This thing that stops us is this belief at the edge of that wall. I can't take it. I can't do that. It's too much for me.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, that belief is so strong, so paralyzing with fear and anxiety and terror, they go right back. But if you thought of it like a game, and imagine your life was like a series of moments in a game, and if you were living your purpose towards happiness, if you stopped at that point, you never get any further.
Yeah.
You're basically stuck in that level, living whatever that level is forever. And if anyone really thought about that, you're like, who would really want that? Even if that was the most comfortable life ever, you would get bored of it after a while.
Yeah.
And so I think games are a great model for how we need to live, because it's like, it's always moving towards, something more challenging that's going to bring out more of your potential. And it doesn't mean that it's better potential, it's different potential. We just can keep bringing out more and more and more and more. And I think with leaders and entrepreneurs and business, that's what they love. They love this idea of like, what is this thing that's going to like bring out more growth, more of me, right? Because like if I think about it, it's like I loved it when I was in architecture school. I loved it when I was a video game designer, and I loved it when I was a producer. But then one day I decided I wanted something different.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily I wanted something more, because I wouldn't say what I'm doing that was more than when I was a video game producer working at EA. It's different. Yeah. It's bringing out more things in me, and certain things I'm not using as much anymore. Yeah. So it's not always about more of you, more and more, and you're just doing a trillion things. It's like, no, I'm bringing out more of who I am, because that's what excites me right now. And the day that changes, we'll be on to something else.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love that. And I love that when my clients are like that, because it's like, I'm going to help you achieve this goal, but I'm going to teach you how you can achieve every goal you ever want to do.
Yeah.
Because it's all the same. And once you realize what that process is like, it's like as you move out of that comfort zone towards that goal, it's like you hit this terror barrier so hard, it makes you want to quit. And then as you really get into the weeds, where, you realize, holy, this is like a lot. Yeah. I don't know how to do all this. I'm failing. And there's a part of me wants to quit. And there may be points where it's like you absolutely are in the dark.
Yeah.
In the darkness.
Yeah.
But you pull yourself out and you keep going.
Yeah.
That's the growth.
Yeah, it's the growth, and that's thing you
win.
Thought you hated to do, or that thing that you found hard, all of a sudden you've conquered, and now you either enjoy it or it's not hard anymore. I I know, like with
totally
with the gym, like something like using the gym as an example, is if people are trying to better themselves in the gym and they hate it at first.
Yeah.
It's because at first you're not seeing any results, so you hate it. Yeah. I've seen plenty of people go from hating the gym to finally losing that weight or putting some muscle on to it becoming like their life. And it's literally how your mind looks at it. It's all it's all mind frames. So it's like what you like, what's hard, what could be completely hard to you one day, a week later is easy peasy, and it's a part of your everyday life, and it was looked at as a burden before, and now it's literally just a few minutes of your day every day, and it's like it's nothing. Well, so it's all mind controls everything. It can control how the decisions you make. It controls what a human is their ability in life is. It can be as little as there's an example as from a wrestling background and doing some wrestling training, helping guys come up. Yeah. The idea of like backflips. Let's do a backflip. Huh. Backflip is not a physical I can or can't. It is legit mind. A human body can backflip very easily, actually, because it's just weight momentum. Right. But where people get hurt on those kinds of things is when your mind, in the middle of that backflip, tells you you're not going to make it, right? And you land on your head. Yeah. But in reality, I've taught guys from 150 pounds to guys that are giants or hugely like big dudes learn how to do something they were so uncomfortable doing just by telling them tell yourself you can do it.
Well, that's perfect. I mean, that's a perfect analogy because it's like, I mean, most of what stops you from going something after something you really want, something big, something that's really outside of what you've done, is exactly that. There's this whole part of it that goes, I've never done it, so I can't do it.
Yeah.
And we can make that easier. I mean, like a lot of what I do with some of the more advanced tools I use with mindset transformation is it's like we change a lot of that programming as you go along. So it's like what I actually kind of like people to do is face the fear and go through it so that they actually know they've had the experience that they can. And the second they have, we change those rules.
Yeah.
If you change them before, there's a part of you that always wonders if you could handle it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the conscious mind and the memory part of you, the part of your routines, grows a lot of its confidence from having gone through it. It's kind of like the tree. Like I have these 2 rubber plants at home, and one summer I took one and put it outside and had one inside. And the one that's inside, honestly, is spindly as hell because it was never tested. But you put the one outside in the wind, and the wind's constantly shaking it.
Yeah.
And all day, it's like getting a little bit of wind, and then the wind really blows. And what I noticed is that stem got stiffer and stiffer and stiffer and stronger and stronger and stronger. And it was like rigid. And the one in the house was like, if you took the strings off, it would snap in an instant.
Yeah.
It's actually the same tree. It's just a cut of one off the other. And it's like that in life too. It's like if you don't give people the stimuli to strengthen and to know that they can, then they don't believe it.
Yeah.
And then when they go to the next bigger challenge, they actually believe that even less. And so we impair ourselves by not going through that stressor point. But once you have, we work together, we change those beliefs. So it's like, now it's easy.
Yeah.
Now it's like, because I think of it like a rubber band, you can only go so far out of your particular paradigm, your particular habit mind before you've stretched it so far that it wants to slam you right back. Like the anxiety's too much, it's just too brutal. That's why so few people actually achieve what they want, because they start to go out there and it starts to feel good, and then they go a little further and it goes, no way. This is too hard, too painful, too dangerous.
When you literally done 90% of the job already, and you've got 10% left, and what's harder, finishing that 10 or realizing you just wasted 90% of your what you were trying to do, and that's where I think even with today's times with COVID, as people entrepreneurs are throwing away weeks to months to years of hard work.
Oh yeah, you're totally
just to basically give up when you've been building yourself, building your company, building it to a goal that you've been searching for, and now that goal is either being put on pause or just being eliminated, and you are thinking, oh, it's too much work right now. What are you saying, that your work before all this wasn't hard work? Was it coasting? Was it just like a floating position where you were doing the bare minimum as to get by? Or are you now like, is that what the case is? Because in reality, I think everybody's faced with difficulties and problems that they have to solve on a daily basis. If that's going to stop your well-being and your life, are you doing the right thing?
It's an interesting thing what you say. I mean, I put this out there on a post a couple of weeks ago because I post on LinkedIn and Facebook all the time and Instagram, but it's like I put this post out, and it was basically this idea. I just had this idea one day, and I grew up in Manitoba in the lake country, in the parklands, and some lakes are really stocked with fish and some aren't. And I was like, the biggest problem what people have right now, if you just take away the health aspect of it, and you just look at the economic problem, and you go, what's really happened is, imagine you've spent all of your life fishing in a lake, and that lake has been fully stocked. And so you could just, cast a line in and, you get a fish, or you put a net in and you get a whole load of fish. And then one day you go to the lake, and the lake, all of a sudden it's just flipped upside down. It's like almost all the fish have died. They're almost all gone. And there's just, there's some left, but it's not like it was.
Yeah.
And you go immediately, well, this lake stock is, it's fished out. There's no fish here. Well, there are.
Yeah.
But you no longer see it that way. But you've accepted the fact that this is no longer a lake of abundance. This is a lake of scarcity and lack. In fact, it may be such a desert, there's none left.
Yeah.
But that's only in your mind that there's none left. They're still there. You can get them, and they won't go extinct. They'll be there. But you got to do it differently.
Yeah.
But because you have gone into this place where it's like, I can't win. This is, an unwinnable game. You don't look. You basically go, it's too hard, it's too much, it's too different.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait until the lake gets docked again. Right?
Yeah.
Now, another dude comes along and goes, maybe he's never fished there before, and goes, well, I got to figure this out. And he starts trying different ways of fishing, different ways of, different bait, different everything.
Yeah.
He comes up with whatever he needs to do. Maybe he's like got a trawler,
Yeah.
a deep line trawler in the ocean or whatever. And that guy has the same target goals as you, to how many fish he wants to get, and starts getting the fish.
Yeah.
Why? Because there was not in that person's mind the lack. There was also not the I can't, I'm not allowed, I won't, I'm not. It was I can, I'm able, and I am. And so I'm looking. And anyone that starts looking for a solution will find it, because every question has an answer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
and not answers every answer is the same.
Well,
your question could have a million answers.
There could be.
You choose the one that's good for you.
Yeah, what's the contextually appropriate one that really resonates with you? And then you try it, and then you see. But the person that looks for the answer and then tries out the answer and sees how it goes and keeps seeing how it goes until they win is going to win.
Yeah.
I basically say, so, imagine someone said the world was going to end if a meteor was coming. And we all said, well, we can't fix that. But then it's over.
Yeah.
But it may be a long shot. It may be impossible, it's seeming. But the people that basically go, it may be a long shot. It may seem impossible, but we believe there is a possibility we can win. And they keep working at it until they do, as long as they don't run out of the clock. They will.
Yeah.
And so many of us don't think that way. We don't it just doesn't occur to us. And our programming doesn't allow it, because it's dangerous, it's unsafe, it's just too much pain. And one thing we have to understand about the subconscious mind is that it's wired for survival. It's wired to avoid pain and danger because it's a threat to us.
Yeah.
And so the habits that keep us alive and surviving win out if there isn't programming there to thrive and create abundance.
Yeah. And
so most of us are in this taking from the scarce environment versus creating the abundant environment. And so right now, the problem we have is that almost everyone is kind of taken hook, line, and sinker this idea that the lake's, it's not stocked anymore.
Yeah.
Or it's so low in stock that it's like, it's costing me too much money and time to go and like take my boat out there and start fishing. And then, this analogy is very applicable to what people are going through. A lot of coaches that do similar things to what I'm doing, we're going, well, and therapists too are going, well, we just can't do this right now. I'm like, why not? And I started working with different clients, in real estate, and they're going, oh, the market's down. And I was like, it may be that there are less buyers, but it doesn't mean you can't get the same number of buyers as before. And they're going, well, how's that possible? I'm like, don't look at what the competition's doing out there. Don't even think about competition. Think about how you're going to go and get the same number of clients as before, but doing it in maybe different ways than you did before. And believing that you can and you've already got them. One of my clients went from making $250,000 a year. She made $250,000 in the first 4 months of this year.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are not. And so, did she do it the same way she did before? No.
She had to adapt.
She adapted.
Yeah.
And but only because she had the belief that she could. And the mindset work that we did enabled that, empowered that. So instead of sitting there trying to fight against your programming, we changed the programming.
Yeah.
So that it's empowering you to go after what you want versus the naysaying all day until you finally believe it and let go.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. That's pretty much how I look at it as well.
Right?
Yeah.
If we talk about these top 7 things that I was talking about with that are hurting business right now, my God, the number one, which is this idea of a bad hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been given a bad hand. Well, if you were playing poker and you got a bad hand, but you were a world-class poker player, you still could win. Yeah. Because, in that game, it's about how do I play by these rules and win? But it's not really about the rules. It's how do you fake out all the other players. But you can win. But, some people would think right now, where it's I'm going to put off, getting this office space. I'm going to put off committing to, growing my business. I'm going to put off starting a new business. And I'd be like, well, why would you do that? Unless your idea literally doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
And then I would say, well, how can you pivot that idea into working with what's going on right now? Because really all you're doing is stopping you from doing what you want to do. If you really want to do it, then, accept what is, get in alignment with it, tailor your ideas and your business to it and start going, because you're going to learn a hell of a lot more out of this than something else. I mean, I grew up in Winnipeg, and a lot of businesses say it's harder to make money in Winnipeg, mainly because people don't necessarily always want to pay as much for things. It's just a mindset. Where people in Vancouver seem to be okay with paying like exorbitant amounts of things for the same thing you might buy somewhere else for much cheaper.
Yeah.
And so a business that could make a lot of, could succeed there, could succeed anywhere. It's like saying, if you can succeed in New York, you can succeed anywhere. Why? Because the competition's so fierce.
Yeah.
Well, if you're in an environment that's like a booming economy, but it's got an enormous saturation of businesses, is it much different than a not booming economy in a market that doesn't have a lot of businesses? It's no different.
Yeah.
The difference is your mindset. And so it's like, if you can succeed in an environment that is difficult, then when the environment becomes, less difficult, well, then you will explode.
Yeah.
And evolution and animals have shown the same thing. It's in the crucible of crisis that innovation happens.
Yeah.
And those that evolve into that which really works in this new environment, or in the very difficult environment, the ones that survive and thrive and go on. And it's the same in business. It's been proven over and over again. The ones that win are the ones that actually keep innovating and actually innovate more in the crisis because they have to, that explode in the new conditions after. I've heard so many people say, I'm going to wait till it goes back to the way it was. I'm like, time never goes backwards.
No.
So we're never going to have the exact same conditions before. Maybe we'll have better conditions than we've had right now, but they won't be like they were.
No.
And so the conditions that come out of this will have unfolded out of this.
Yeah.
And so if you're learning how to win now, you're learning how to really win later. And so everyone that's not doing these things, they're crazy. And they're letting their paradigm, they're letting their habitual way of thinking and their comfort zone control them and stop them from winning in the future.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, it's just too hard, it's too risky, it's too dangerous, I'm going to lose my money. And I'm like, are you losing or are you investing?
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of things. I mean, I was talking to one of my clients today, and they're like, well, should I quit my job right now and go after this? And I'm like, that's your decision to make what's best for you. But I would ask this, what do you value more?
Yeah.
If you use this money to go and make this product, and what if it doesn't do well? Is it still worth it that you spent all this savings on that versus you didn't spend your savings and you've worked this same job that you've been working, but you're hating it and you haven't learned anything more about how to succeed over here.
Yeah.
You never took a chance on what you really wanted, and maybe you'll win big, but you'll never know. But what you will know is if you make the other choice completely without considering what you want, is for sure you'll still be disliking that job that you've been hating all this time in 6, 7, 8 months. And you will have all that money, but what did you make all that money for?
Yeah.
And it's like what you said before we started this, which is, you make all this money your whole life and then you retire and then you have nothing to do. And it's like, did you live your life?
No.
And it's like, so I don't know. I mean,
you didn't live your life and you're not doing the things you wanted to do.
Yeah, you're just holding back.
It's not just, it's a mind frame too. Like, with age and everything, when you hit a certain number with retirement homes and stuff, like people going in there younger and they die younger and they're not doing things for themselves anymore. When you have elderly that are, like, I use an example of my grandmother who's now in a home just because of safety reasons after having a few scares, but late 80s, who up to, let's say, 5 years ago seemed like she could have been 60.
Right.
And it's all mind frame and keeping active. And I think when you work a job that you can't stand, doesn't matter how old you are, when you retire that job, you are already burnt out to a point where you can't really even think anymore, and you don't have the ambition or even you don't feel like you have the energy or anything to even do what you want to do.
Well, here's the thing. You become what you think about. So if all you've been thinking about for 20, 30, 40 years is how much you hate your job, but you're stuck doing it because you want to make money so you can not have a job and be free, then that doesn't actually end at that point.
No.
So, you basically put off living for 40 years, and all of a sudden you think that at the end you're going to start living?
No.
It's like you've programmed yourself to not ever let yourself be free to be you and live the way you want to live in this uncompromising way.
So now you're just lost. You just feel lost.
Yeah, and you can't get out of it. And I mean, the longer you build this habitual way of doing certain things, it's proven to show that it's harder to get out of, because you accumulate so many things that reinforce it. And one limiting belief turns into 10, 15, 20, because, what's interesting about limiting beliefs, a lot of them are protecting ourselves from pain.
Yeah.
But when you create a limiting belief to protect yourself from pain because you're hating something, but then that's painful, then you create another limiting belief to protect yourself from that, and that, and that, and that, and that. And pretty soon you've got like hundreds of these beliefs that are all around the fact that I just don't do what I love.
Yeah.
I don't live the way I love. And it's created so much pain for me that I've had to protect myself from this and numb myself with so much limitation that I can't even feel myself anymore. So all of a sudden you're old and you're like, well, even if I did want to do something, I don't even know what it would be.
Yeah.
And when I do it, it doesn't really feel like much.
Yeah.
And so it's a pretty painful thing. But when we look at people right now and what they're struggling with, so yeah, there's the bad hand and making the bad hand into a great hand.
Yeah.
And working through it until maybe you get another hand that comes that's even better, but you learn from this hand and you do the best with it and you never give up. Because the truth is, what option do you have? It's like, do I quit or do I keep going? And I would say this, if you're quitting on a goal or a dream or a business that you don't like, well, who cares?
Yeah.
You're probably a good thing you're quitting because you don't want it anyway. But if you're quitting on your dream, on the goals you really want, well, you're not just losing the goal, you're losing a piece of yourself.
Yeah.
Because the goal is just a way of representing you and who you are and what you want. And so I'm like, how could you give that up? And if you were being completely sane and rational, who would do that? And postponing it. It's like, don't postpone it, transform it into something that'll work right now.
Yeah.
And it's like so many people, they're letting the fear and the lack, right, in the environment and the really just play havoc on them.
Yeah.
And we become the playthings of our environment when we really live outside in instead of inside out, which is like inside out is, I believe I'm going to win. I believe I'm going to succeed. I believe I can get what I want. If I keep applying myself and keep working at it and transforming myself until I can become the person that can get what I want, versus I'm the victim of the environment.
Yeah.
And that is like the key here. It's like if you're paralyzed in your business right now, not being able to take the action you want to take, you're a victim of the environment. You're letting the environment dictate who you are and what you think and what you do.
Yeah.
In which case, you're not self-determining what you want. You're not demanding of yourself to create it. You're letting it all come in and go, I can't win. I can't succeed. I can't get what I want anymore.
Yeah.
Because. And it's something outside of you. And if it's something outside of you, well, you've lost all control and power.
Yeah.
Like all of it.
Yeah,
it's
completely.
Gone.
And I feel that like people are thinking that when you have a goal, if you just don't see an uptrend, where it's just like one way, you only go towards that goal, and if you which people aren't doing it, people need to start looking at their life or their goals as like the stock exchange.
Yeah, right.
Where it's literally like, oh my God, I'm close to this. Oh shit, I get hit with this. Like I'm back down here. Okay, I got to move it back up here again. Oh, I got a little bit higher than last time, but then it drops me back down a little bit. And then, but you don't realize when you come back down, you're still at the point of where you were highest before. And then it keeps.
I think that's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
But I think what people need to realize is not take the graph as like something outside of them. It is them.
Yeah. And
what I mean by that is, what's making it go up and down is your level of awareness of dealing with what is right now. So when it's going up, 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 it means you've got a pretty good handle from an awareness standpoint of what it requires right now to do well.
Yeah.
But when things change and you don't have the awareness to deal with it very well or as well, things go down.
Yeah.
And then all that is a stimuli to start to really double down and look at what's happening and really get in touch with what is and grow your awareness and start trying through trial and error and what you think, intuitively is going to make the most sense, or from the data you can get, what seems to point in the right direction, and try it until the awareness goes, this doesn't work, this works. This doesn't work, this works. And then you expand the awareness to the point where you can deal with that challenge. But guess what? The world turns.
Yeah.
So then you get to another point and that something else changes. And then it comes down. Well, why? Your level of awareness. As your level of awareness expands, it goes up. That's all it is. It's like I'm aware of what works and what doesn't work with what is going on right now.
Exactly.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And if you keep looking at it that way, it's not so debilitating when things go down because you realize it's like, it's going down because I don't know how to make it go up again.
Yeah.
But it's my responsibility, and it's also the fun.
Yeah. Challenges can be fun, especially if you've seen a trend of like ups and downs. If you expect that there's going to be downs no matter what, it's almost something to even look forward to, as messed up as that sounds, as if you like challenges and you do like working your brain, and you have an entrepreneurial spirit where you want to know that times are changing and things are going to change constantly, that you have to be the best you can be at that time.
Well, think about it. The tide goes in, the tide goes out.
Yeah.
If I can only win when the tide's coming in, then you're not going to last very long, because the tide comes in and the tide goes out.
Yeah.
It's like, do you want what you want? I mean, I saw a comment on the post this morning, and it was really interesting because they were talking about how selfish and pitiful it was to have this idea of going after what you want. And I was like, wow. And I was thinking about you and the name of your company, the Fountainhead, and it brought me back to a book by Ayn Rand called The Fountainhead. And it's all about like this idea of like, in this uncompromising way going after what you want, versus in this compromising way, compromising everything you want for the appearance of what is right and good and loved in the world.
Yeah.
And, when you think about going after what you want, it's like, if going after what you want ends the second it gets challenging,
yeah,
did you really want it?
No, not at all.
You know what I mean? And there's another guy named Michael Singer with a book called The Untethered Soul, and he's got this chapter, and this one part of the chapter talks about happiness. And, he said if you were really devoted to being happy, really, truly, like in the most absolute radical sense, how would your life change in every way? Because a lot of people say they want to be happy, but, I really want to be happy, but my wife left me. I really want to be happy, but the economy went down. I really want to be happy, but COVID-19.
Yeah.
And it's like, these are all outer reasons for why you can't be something. And you're taking away your freedom, your power. You're taking away your power. And so you can't get what you want, because now you are subject to all these outside influences, right? You're a powerless being. So it's using this idea of relativity against yourself, where it's like you relative to everything else is very small and powerless, and the world and the universe and these big power players are huge and giants, and you're insignificant, nothing. You're not enough in comparison. And what we're saying we're not enough is you are the essence of a lack mentality, which is, if you think about it from a prosperity, poverty, or scarcity standpoint, you are lack. You are lacking. You are not enough to deal with what the world has put out there, what others are doing, what they're creating is too hard for you. And it's like, wow, you just took all your power away. You just made yourself insignificant, nothing. And when you do that, well, of course there's no motivation anymore. Of course there's no fire anymore. You've taken the fire out of yourself. Yeah. And when you realize that you're using this law of relativity against yourself, and you go, no, we can flip the tables.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It neutralizes all of that, and you just go and you go, you know what? If people like Bill Gates can go and build a tiny little company that no one ever heard of into Microsoft, and people look at Microsoft and go, well, how could I beat that? Well, if you go way back, it's just a scrappy little company eking its way out with IBM and all these giants and tons of competitors, seemingly equal, and like create this behemoth. Well, why can't you? Yeah. People always look at the success stories at the end or in the prime. They never look at where it was when it was so close to being like snuffed out.
Yeah, and I think like it's that whole ideology that people don't realize that one person can change the world you live in.
Well, they did.
I think it's like it's politically driven, where it's like it's not one person, it's a collective amount of people that are controlling how you do or what you do and all this stuff. But like, no, these big companies for the most part are the ideas of one to maybe a couple more people, like 2, 3, 4 people, a group of like-minded individuals that took a leap and they changed the world with like technology, whatever it is. That's one person. So with the times we're living in, where it's so structured and you're supposed to think in the box, where is civilization actually going to be when you're holding basically these ideas and brains back from the world, and scaring them to a point where they think they can't. Well, these people might not even thought they could. They said, why the F not? Why not try?
That's right.
What wasn't like Bill Gates, didn't they just take a computer that was already built, deconstruct it, and make it better? Isn't that how they created their first computer? So it's like that was just them being like, hey, let's think outside the box and do something different. And I think everybody's scared of being different.
Well, I think we're also scared of being wrong.
Yeah,
we're
when you shouldn't be.
Yeah, we're scared of being wrong, and that our idea, our dreams, really are impossible or worthless, or well, I can never do them.
Yeah.
And I think that is like a killer, where it's like you believe your dreams aren't possible for you. Like I've worked with so many people where it's like or actually I shouldn't say I work with a lot of people. I don't work with those people. I've had people on the phone as prospects where it's like you realize as you talk to them, and it's like they don't really believe in their dreams.
Yeah.
They get on the call because they think they want to do it, but when it really comes down to making a choice, they would much prefer to keep their dreams locked up in their imagination and never have a chance to become real, because if they try and they fail, that would be unbearable to realize.
Dreams.
Yeah, it's your crushed dream. And the thing is, and here's the truth, I really believe this. I believe we're born into this world with a purpose. And that purpose may be many things throughout life, but we're meant to create these experiences for ourselves and give them to the world.
Yeah.
And as you create them, they are part of the world. And it's like, and when we keep them inside, it's like we're keeping away part of our purpose.
Yeah.
And when we're really giving in touch with our purpose and creating what we're meant to be creating, we're super alive and we're super happy. And when we just keep it locked inside of our brain, we're suffering.
Yeah.
But the worst suffering, I think, is when you keep it locked in a box because you don't believe in yourself enough, and you don't believe enough in the idea, and it just sits there and it keeps coming up, and then one day it just stops, and it's just forgotten about and buried, and you kind of put this amnesic block because it's just too painful to think about these things anymore, and then you just go into living the dead life.
Yeah.
The light goes out from your eyes, but the truth is, it's like little kids, you look at them all, they always want to do stuff, they're full of ideas.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, they become an adult and they realize they can't do it. It's like, no, they became an adult and bought into this lie.
Yeah.
And it really is a lie that you can't do it. Because I really believe if you truly want to do it, a lot of people, they're enthusiasts about things, but they don't truly want to do it. And it's not really their skill set. They're not meant to do that. They're supposed to do something else. And there's kind of like delusion. But the things that you truly want to do, you're meant to do them.
Yeah.
And it's the worst kind of pain to not do them. And people don't realize what that pain is. And it's like you're in pain because you're fighting with your inner compass.
Yep.
The part of you that knows what you're meant to do, knows what the right thing for you to do is right now, out of all the stuff that's happening all the time. And I'm not talking about fate. It's like this part of you that's just looking at the lay of the land right now going, this is the right thing for me to do right now. And then you don't do it. Why? Because the programming's at odds with it.
Yeah.
And if you could just clean up that programming to like free it,
Yeah.
free yourself to do it, man, you'd be so happy. You'd have, you'd live the life you want to live, and
you'd have fun doing it. And and that's key, and that's why I like your analogy about like video games and like gaming. It's like if you take like an open world concept video game and you let somebody that might be having a hard time in real life go and play that game and have fun, where they can make their own decisions in that game to go that will basically like create either another issue or it solves an issue in those video games, but you're having fun doing it. More people need to look at life like a video game where it is like make your own decisions, because you could have fun doing it and you can create that. You can have a final goal and you can create how you get to that final goal. And it's all mindset. Like if you look at, like, if you take an open world adventure game, if you take like a Legend of Zelda now, like the newest Legend of Zelda game where it is open world concept, and you have a goal, and that's get to the final and save the princess, pretty much. But they made it so you don't have to do it the same way anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
You can go here, you can go here, you can go here, you can go here. You can have a hard time fighting certain monsters, or you can just run past those monsters and you don't fight them. So
choose your own adventure.
Choose your own adventure in life. You can actually make things harder on yourself on purpose. That some people actually crave that. So it's like whatever your forte is or whatever you like, you can actually do that.
But imagine this. I like to think about it like this. It might be, if you go after what you want, it might be painful for an hour or two, a week, a month, a year, because you're suffering through some, because you don't know how to win yet.
Yeah.
Or you can spend a lifetime suffering. And the suffering might not seem as much as that pain of that loss.
Yeah.
But when you add up that suffering and self-torture that goes on for like 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, sometimes 80, wow, it's incomparable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But people don't realize that they're actually suffering, and then eventually they just kind of bury it, and it's just this glowering inner rage that they have,
Yeah.
right? And then they are hateful towards anyone else that's going after what they want, because I really believe it's like, this pursuit of happiness is like the ultimate thing. And people go, well, people don't want to be happy. It's like, well, if you were really fulfilled in life, you would be happy.
Yeah.
And people have their own idea what happiness is, but people should, you're meant to pursue happiness, I think.
Yeah.
And like, what if you think about it rationally? Who would pursue unhappiness?
Nobody.
Like, if you think about it, it's like really think about it. Like, you're sitting here right now, and you have a decision: get an office, don't get an office. Start moving forward with my business, don't move forward with my business. Right? Yeah. Take a risk, don't take a risk. Invest, don't invest. Yeah. Take it right back and go, what am I winning? What am I going to gain? Or what am I going to lose? Right?
Yeah.
Like, really get hard and be like, if I was going after my happiness, what am I going to gain by taking this action? Or what am I going to lose by not taking it?
Yeah.
And we don't want to go there. But here's how, this is when you start,
know their happiness.
Exactly. But I'm like, if you start using your reasoning faculty to get hard on yourself that way versus finding all the excuses logically why you might fail and be like, wait. Take away all that. Take away all the noise, all the like smoke and mirrors, and go right down to this. Be like, right now, in this moment, we always have a choice. More towards my happiness, away from my happiness. Towards what I want, away from it, or neutral. Am I right now taking an action that's moving me closer to my desire being fulfilled? Yeah. And being happier right now, and happy with myself. I use this with one of my clients the other day, and I said, look, if you were absolutely loving yourself right now, like truly, through what you're deciding to do and then taking the action to do, would you do this or do that? And not loving yourself would be the thing that isn't what you really want.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it's obviously this. And I'm like, then what is making this a hard decision? Because you didn't realize that you were loving yourself less by choosing things that you didn't really want.
Yeah.
And when we keep making these decisions in every moment to love yourself by doing what you really desire to do, that's really you, that would make you happy, then you're going the other way. And imagine you keep doing that. Think about two people doing the same thing in this radical sense. One doing what they really would is truly loving them in that moment, in every moment, for a year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And the other one's doing the opposite because they think that this, they're making other people happy, or they're looking after something that's, their children or their job or whatever, right? Their debt. Yeah. And they're going the other way. Where do you think they are in 10 years with the opposite decisions?
Yeah,
it's an unbelievable difference. And there's one person who's going after what they want and choosing to love themselves truly in that moment by moving towards what they want. They may go through all sorts of havoc, and they may lose their wife or their husband or their friends or their this or their that. But at the end, it's transformation into a life they love. Yeah. The other person,
you're gonna forget about anything you don't love about when you're following what you love. So it's just if you love it, if you keep on going in the right direction where you're just like, oh, this is what I should do, what I've been told I should do, blah blah blah, you're gonna end up hating it, and that job that you created, or if you're an entrepreneur and that thing you did to step out of the box of working in that cookie cutter box that you have to work in, and you step out of that, if you don't chase your happiness, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah, what's the
whole point? I mean, this is why people play games so much. It's like because it makes them happy. Yeah, they're enjoying themselves, especially a lot of times in parts of life when they're not. And it's like, if you think about it, it's like, okay. I mean, it goes back to this comment I had this morning, like about being selfish and going after what you want and how awful that is. I'm like, I think if we could make it like this and make it really simple. We don't always get what we want in every little way. And what I mean by that is this: if I'm going after what I really want, I may have to make some sacrifices, meaning I may have to stop doing other things that I might want to do less. Yeah. Or some things I don't want to do altogether. And so as an example, it's like, if I want to, build my business or build my career more, or, go on this trip, I may have to stop watching that TV show that I really like. Yeah. That's sucking a bunch of my time. But I do like it, and I want to watch it. But I don't want to watch it as much as I want that $1 million home, that oceanfront property, that trip around the world, that business that I've, that's building the products and services that I desire to create and give and be.
Yeah.
And so it's like we have to get tough on ourselves and go, okay, if I really want this, what's got to go? But sacrifice isn't what people think. Sacrifice is very simple. Giving out something lesser for something greater.
Yeah.
But it comes down to what you want. And when people don't stack rank that way, it's like, yeah, I may have to give up a whole slew of things that I want, but don't really want as much as this.
Yeah.
And when you can live your life that way, it's like pretty soon you can focus and go, okay, do I want this as much as that? Because I've only got so much time in the day.
Yeah.
And so it's like when you look at people, it's like, I don't want to invest my money. Well, why? Do you want that money that's sitting there doing nothing as much as you want this?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I'm sitting there at home right now and I'm getting a quarter of the work done that I might have before if I had my own little office space, because, some people have a home office, it's great.
Yeah.
But in my apartment, like a year ago, that I've got with my wife and my two little kids, at the time were under 3, it became, I couldn't think.
Yeah.
I couldn't concentrate.
Yep.
And so I was like, I got to get an office.
Yeah.
As I started looking around and, I found a little office, for about $900. And my God, my productivity quadrupled, more than that probably, in my sanity.
Yeah.
Because and then I could come home and be with my kids and do that kind of thing. And, I made the decision. And yes, I was out of some money. And yes, I wasn't making as much money at the time as I might have wanted. But boy, did I start to make more money because I started to do that.
Mentality, you will make more money with a positive mentality and a happy mentality. There's no, if you're negative, it's crippling your work ethic.
Well, and you think about it, it's like, I'm spending this money. The worst thing you can do when you're going after your want is you're going, if I'm spending my time on this or my effort on this or my money or whatever, or even my credibility or reputation, you go like this. Focus on what you're gaining. Don't think about it as losing. I could have been going, well, if I do this and I don't make this money, then I've lost this money. It's like, okay, the subconscious hates to lose anything.
Yeah.
Losing is painful. So if all you think about is what you're going to lose by taking this action forward, it will talk you out of it like a con artist, because it doesn't want you to lose anything.
Yeah.
So if you start thinking about the losing and you're talking in your head and your thinking loops, your thought loops are all about the loss, your subconscious goes, well, let me help you. Let me create a feeling of what that loss feels like for you. It's going to feel awful. Now make your decision.
Yeah.
And you go, well, that feels awful, so I'm not going to do it. But what you just did was you didn't go towards what you wanted. So now you're going to keep feeling that awful.
Yeah. Awful forever.
Yeah. And so you have to realize it's like, don't think about what you're going to lose. Think about what you're going to gain.
Yeah.
And if you think about what you lose versus gain, think about if you're going to think about what you lose, only think about in comparison to what you're going to gain. So that you can really use your logical thinking to analyze that and judge, is this worth it to me? And come back to it. Is it going to make me happy? Am I going to start moving forward? Am I moving towards what I want? Or am I sitting on the sidelines, neutral, or going backwards?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Think like that, just razor's edge. And honestly, you'll start making some headway.
Yeah.
But this is the mindset thing. People get stuck in their habit mind, and their habit mind just wants them to stay away from the pain and the suffering. And if you start getting a whiff of it and start letting that go, and it's uncontrollable, you've lost.
Yeah.
And that's why people come to me, so that they don't lose that way anymore. It's like they win because their mind is programmed on the subconscious mind to empower them to win.
Yeah.
And then their conscious mind's free to go after what they want.
Yeah.
And just focus.
And failure isn't really failure. It's adapting time. It's let's change. Let's make this work.
Let's expand our awareness and really understand what we're doing. Because if we did already understand it, we wouldn't have had a loss.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you should quit.
No.
It means you should double down.
No.
You only quit if you don't want it.
Yeah.
And you've given up because you don't believe in it anymore.
Yeah,
but
there is certain industries that can't happen just with time to change, and just like some things become not necessary for the time you're living in. But I think doesn't matter which company you are, the chance for adapting and change, doesn't matter who you are, is there.
Oh yeah.
It just is how stubborn you are about that change.
Yeah, you got to be persistent and really double down. Who knows? We could have way worse times ahead. Does that mean
we do have more? It might not be in our lifetime, but there is worse times ahead for any generation. If we think that it's just never, it's always going to be bubbly good times after we fix the world another time. It's never gonna be perfect, and it's just I think what people do nowadays is they don't remember history, and they don't look at history and think we're invincible, and that it's like a totally different time and stuff will not repeat itself. But if you look at what we have in this world with countries and stuff, let's say, and countries that are in power of like not just themselves of like they are the higher powers of the world, let's say. Empires die. They always have died. You have Roman empires, you have Greek emperors, you have Chinese empires that at certain point in time they were the head honcho of the world trade, their dollar, whatever it is. And I think we've gotten to a point where we think that things just aren't going to change and that it's stuck, and we're the way it is right now is just the way it is. And we got to look at the past to realize we're always going to change. Things are not always going to be the same ever going to be the same. And it could happen in your lifetime, could happen in your kid's lifetime, your grandchild's lifetime, but it's never going to stay the same.
Well, and here's the thing that people have to realize right now is that technology is changing faster than ever.
Yeah.
And the population is huge. The amount of research that's going on is bigger than ever. So what we are living in, and it's funny, Ray Kurzweil talked about this in his book, The Singularity is Near, which is that we hit a point where change is just so rapid that radical change is the norm.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, if your ability to go forward in doing things is always based on your belief that you can do it, but your belief that you can do it is so much framed by your perception that is constructed out of your belief system.
Yeah.
If change is so rapid that your belief system is constantly getting out of date and you don't have a process to update it intentionally, and change is so rapid, you're never going to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And what we're experiencing right now is a perfect example of that, where it's like the landscape's changed. And now I don't believe I can do it. What you're really saying is I don't believe in myself.
Yeah.
And you're allowing that lie to be true for you. And so long as you're allowing that lie to be true, you're stuck. You're a victim of circumstance. And I would say, look, don't go home and go, oh my God, Jarett just really pointed this out, and I just realized I'm like I don't believe in myself, because if I did, I would be doing this right now. And so I am a loser and I should give up. I would say, no, recognize that you're not believing in yourself as much as you should, because you should absolutely believe in yourself. And because you don't, that's okay. You can change that mindset in minutes.
Yeah.
And then you'll be free to go out and do what you want. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world. Unless the world is like being blown apart right now, you can go after what you want.
Yeah.
And you should.
Yeah.
I mean, what else? But just realize you're not taking the action you want to take because you don't believe in you.
Yep.
And if you don't back yourself enough, who's going to?
Nobody.
So, honestly,
nobody can love you completely unless you love yourself, because you're not being your true self if you don't care about yourself. Yeah. You're acting a certain way. You're doing things a certain way, and it's if it's not completely what you feel, then the love that you are showed from other people isn't genuine because it's not truly you.
Well, and the truth is, I really don't believe we get what we want so much as we get what we are. So if you want to get what you want, you've got to become that person who can get it.
Yeah.
Because you already are that person. And it's like, if you look at the results you have in life, it's a reflection of who you are being.
Yeah. 100%.
100%.
Yeah.
People don't want to think about that. They want to go, well, it's the outside world that's making that way. It's like, no, because look at, you have so many people. You have people that grow up in ghettos and they become surgeons and doctors and millions. And it's like that one person, it seems like out of the million, but the truth is they're all capable.
They just in their mind said, I want this for myself. I like myself. I don't want to be stuck here for the rest of my time.
They're deciding this is what I want, and they're going after it, and they're not letting anything come in their way and go, my past doesn't dictate who I've been. The choices I made in the past don't dictate who I'm going to be right now and who I'm going to be tomorrow. My failures don't dictate who I'm going to be. Everything that's happened in the past doesn't dictate the future.
They took those failures and they turned them into positives. And you are growing up in a hood and you become that successful person, it's because you taught yourself, I don't want to be what I'm supposed to be.
Well, and if you think about something like that, it's like children that are growing up in a place like that is much more difficult than what most of us are experiencing right now by far.
Yeah, yeah.
That's serious.
Yeah, 100%.
And if we go back to the Great Depression where people are starving to death in a lot of places and business is going broke like crazy. And then you got the First World War where all these people, young guys and they're 18, 20, 23, they're all dying and being slaughtered in fields in Europe all over the world. It's like we are not in that time. We're not in the 1400s or 1400s where the bubonic plague and there's like 75 to over, up to possibly 200 million people dying.
Yeah.
And like we're fighting for our lives.
Yeah.
Yes, some people are dying right now and fighting for their lives. But those of you that are not right now, owe it to yourself to keep living, because quite frankly, we're the people that are well right now, who are capable right now, are the ones that can stabilize our society, our culture, and help it keep moving and growing and not receding and devolving.
Yeah.
And when we who are healthy and well buy into this lack mentality, this fear mentality, this poverty mentality, right? The scarcity mentality, we aren't helping anyone.
Zero people.
Right? So it's like, what are you doing? So, I mean, I really think it comes down to believing in yourself and that you can still contribute. You can still create what you want, and you can still make the world a better place and for yourself and for others, and be happy no matter what's going on outside around you. And if you don't believe that, you're believing a lie.
Yeah. Because the only thing that's going to change these hard times is positive people bringing the change.
Yeah.
And nothing's going to change if you just handcuff yourself and sit there.
I think you're spot on.
And it's a very difficult time, but it can be more difficult on the mind than it actually is difficult physically. I think people really need to get that drive back and just get that love back that they're working towards.
Well, think about it. I mean, you could look at it differently and go, isn't this just an awesome challenge?
Yeah.
Like, it's a challenge for everybody right now.
Yeah.
To take it to another level.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's like, it was easy to believe in yourself before. It was easy to perform before. It was easy to get the results you wanted before. It was easy to feel good before and not feel stressed and afraid. And now it's harder. But why is it harder? It's only harder because that's the relationship you're having to what's going on right now.
Yeah.
You're the one that's decided that's the truth. And part of it is your subconscious programming. But part of it is you buying into it and not using your rational mind to see the truth that you are creating that difficulty.
Yeah.
It's like, and you're the one that's resisting things maybe being different. Like a part of me didn't always like wearing this mask. And I'm like, who cares? Like, put on the damn mask and respect what certain places want and just do it. And like, who cares? It's like, you're making you feel more comfortable. You're making things more safe. It's not hurting me at all.
No.
So just put it on.
No.
And who cares? And when you're in your office, you can take it off and do what you want. And you don't have to be in resistance. It doesn't mean I have to be crying in a hole because I have to do something different that I didn't want to do before, or that it's more, of a, what's the word? It's more of an imposition.
Yeah.
It's like, making it a big deal.
Yep.
And we can make little things a big deal. We can make things a giant deal, or we can make them small.
Yeah.
And I think that's a key thing, is like the relativity of things. It's like, you can make a mountain out of a molehill, and you can make a mountain into a little anthill.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you can fly right over it.
Yeah. So, or create something to fly over that hill.
Yeah, exactly. Well, quite frankly, that's the truth.
Yeah, it's just.
You're dead right.
That's life. That's what the human race has done since the beginning of us. Whatever that beginning was, is just adapting to how are we going to make this work for us. And I think right now we kind of stopped that. It's like, oh no, they told us what works for us. Yeah. No, everybody's different. What works for everybody is a different thing. Work for what works for you.
Well, the other thing is someone might hear this and go, well, that's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
Because clearly you're in better circumstances. Like, I wouldn't say I was.
Yeah.
I really could have very easily been in a position where it's like, you have no clients right now. People won't come to your seminars anymore. People won't come to this and that anymore. People don't have the money to pay for your programs anymore. People don't have this and people don't have that. And I could have bought it all in. And, probably for an instant that thought went through my head, and then I was just like, I kicked it out. And I was like, no, there are still people out there that want what I want. In fact, I actually realized they need it more than ever.
Yeah.
Because, the crisis on the outside is the crisis I used to create for people on the inside.
Yeah.
You go to a big goal and all hell breaks loose because you're not meant to do it. And now it's on the outside. It's like, I had to believe that I had something to offer that was worthy.
Yeah.
Right? And really believe it. And that's all we're being tested right now. We're being tested to believe in ourselves and believe in each other and believe in the good and take the action and make it true.
Yeah. And when you want to do what you want to do, you have to realize that the pains that come with it are temporary, And then when you're working something else that you don't like doing, you don't realize that the pain is forever.
Well, and there's a difference between the growth pain and the suffering pain.
Yeah.
They're not the same pain.
No.
Like,
it's a mental health society where we're finally knowing and not ashamed to talk about mental health. And I think you talking about how like your mind is key and your mind is what is limiting you and your mind is, and I feel like finally is now a time where people know that their mind can do as much positive as negative, but you can train your mind and you can take those negative thoughts and express them now. And I feel like there was a time where people couldn't and they were scared to because they would be looked down upon. And I feel successful entrepreneurs can take those negative moments and they can look and they can almost promote the fact that they had those moments.
Well, this is, I mean, honestly, you couldn't say it better myself. That was beautiful, by the way. That's so good. I'm like, oh my God, that's so true. I mean, think of it. Like, I think I mentioned this, I don't remember if we talked about it right now or earlier, but it was like, the way we feel is so much a communication to us. So like when people feel depressed, it may hard to hear this, but depression is trying to tell you something is wrong.
Yeah.
Like, so a lot of people go, I'm depressed, and they want to get away from depression. I don't tell my clients that. I'm like, don't get away from depression. Love your depression.
Yeah.
And then what I mean by that is like, the reason why depression is persisting for most people, because they're environmentally depressed. They're not depressed because of some predisposition, genetic, chemical disorder. Most people are not. Some people are, but most people are not. And because they're hating their circumstances, they're hating the way things are, they're disliking them, they're in resistance to doing whatever they need to do to move out of that. And so if I'm disliking the way my life is, and I'm hating it and putting all this resentment and anger into that, how does that make you feel? Well, not very good. And if you persist in that perception of yourself and your life and your circumstances for a long period of time, you settle into what is in a moment a bad mood into a chronically bad mood.
Yeah.
And we call that depression. And then after a while, that depression isn't just chronic at an emotional, habitual level. The chemicals in your body become so consistent with that the cells in your body are habituated to that as well. Yeah. And then the second you start to feel better, they go, the chemical environment around me isn't what we're used to, and they get freaked out. They're stressed, and now you're addicted to being distressed in depression.
Yeah.
And so
you don't want out of it.
Well, so the second you start to come out of depression, your cells get so stressed out that it makes you want to go back to the behaviors that were causing you to be depressed and the thinking so that they start to feel better. So it becomes very much a catch-22, and people get addicted to drugs forever. And so it's like, so what you really want to do is love your depression. No. And what I mean by that is embrace it, accept it, allow it, love it for what it is.
It's like a trigger to happiness.
And get the message. Why are you depressed? Why? Because as long as you're rejecting it and against it and hating it and resenting it and angry with it, you're angry with you.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're the one that chose that everything around you is depressing.
Yeah.
And if you can look at all that differently and embrace it, just like what I said about my own problem with getting results, it's the same thing, then the awareness of why you are depressed will be there. And now you are empowered. See, when we are against how we are, we're actually disempowering ourselves from moving out of it, because we're actually deepening ourselves into it. Because we're here and we're actually hating here. But what you are being is the hate, the resentment, the anger, the sadness. Mm-hmm. And what does that do? Pushes you down further. And then you hate that even more.
Pushes you down further, pushes everything you care about further, pushes everything.
There's no way to increase.
Yeah.
So if you love it, loving it, embracing it, right, increases you. And also stops fighting it. So it can tell you. And then once you know, it may be a difficult process, but you can move out of it. But we cannot move out of what we're against. We actually just increase it.
Very true.
Like, it's just the way it is. It's very lawful. It's cause and effect. And what you love will grow into the image of that, and what you hate will grow into the image of that. What you're against will increase its opposition. I mean, if you think about it, all depression is trying to do is help you.
Yeah.
That's what it's there. It's there to help you, tell you, it's a conscious awareness of your emotional state of being. It's just a relationship that you've created from a meaning standpoint to the context of yourself in your life. And if you could just embrace what depression is trying to bring into your life, which is understanding of why you are feeling that way, you can move out of it.
Yeah.
But you can't move out of what you are against and are resisting and rejecting and actually, quite frankly, wanting to hack off and throw into a corner and pretend it's not there, because it's not going to go away. It's going to increase because it's trying to tell you even harder.
Yeah. And even if it's sitting in the back of your mind, even at the back of your mind is going to affect what you're doing with your everyday life.
You can't put it away. It's just going to increase.
Yeah.
That's why people that, are angry and they reject their anger and they don't listen to it, which is all about, repairing boundaries. It increases. Why? Because if you don't improve your boundaries with things and you just keep this imbalanced, thing going on where something's violating your boundaries and they're not the way that you really want them to be or need them to be happy, it increases the anger.
Yeah.
Until what happens? It's explosive anger. And you blow things up.
Yeah.
But in the process of blowing things up, you actually make other things worse. And so it perpetuates itself. Where if you could listen to the anger when it was just like, hey, by the way, this isn't working for you.
Yeah.
Fix that. You've been fine.
Yeah.
But we don't.
It's one day or 1 week or 1 month of that pain instead of a lifetime of just hatred, and basically you're a volcano ready to erupt.
And the truth is, even hate isn't a bad thing. It's telling you what you hate.
We're meant to feel emotions. You're supposed to.
They're all our compass. It's like, this is how you're feeling, is how you're relating to everything.
And I think what people feel is that we've been kind of tricked into feeling that you're only supposed to feel happiness to bring happiness. And that's not true, because when all you get is happiness, what negative is to you can be very minuscule. So if it's just all you see is positive in your life, positive, and then the littlest thing negative goes to you, it blows out of proportion. If you realize that life is going to hit you with curveballs no matter what, positive, negative, middle ground, anything, and just expect it, you're going to try to fix whatever issues you're getting hit with instead of just blowing it into making it seem like it's the end of the world.
Well, the truth is, it's like these emotions are telling you when you feel something that's like a negative emotion, it's really just an emotion telling you what's not right for you.
Yeah.
It's like, this isn't right for me. This isn't working for me. This needs to change.
We're a computer that is like, we're like the human body is a computer that can be programmed by themselves only. I don't know if it kind of out of nowhere, but it's like you can program your own to work a certain way. You can program yourself, and nobody can change that program if you are the only one with the password. It's a weird analogy, but it's just I feel that there's a structure of everybody's life, and if you're out of that structure, it's being promoted as wrong or anything that's basically not normal. And I find that nobody that's quote unquote normal has ever done anything good for this world. It's always people that are the exact opposite of what normal is. Because what is normal? Really, it's what society is telling you what normal is.
Well, normal is generally what you consider similar.
Yeah.
When things are really similar, when a whole bunch of people have similar traits and characteristics and behaviors, we call that normal.
Yeah.
And anything that's different from that is not the norm.
But nobody is normal. I feel like it's a created normal. It's created by somebody.
It's an agreement.
Yeah. But nobody is actually what normal is.
Probably not.
Yeah. So like literally they're trying to be normal when normal is what normal is actually not normal.
Well, this idea of normal is just an idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what the opinion and ideas of one person can control a whole world or society. That's not good, because everybody's going to have opinions that they agree with a little bit more, and life values that they're going to agree with more. And so let those people chase their happiness by using those values, instead of being like, to create success, you have to do this.
Yeah, and like
what success is to somebody, $100,000 a year company could be gold to somebody, when to another person that's minuscule and it's a shot in my a shot in my foot. I don't want it to be that little, but like what happiness is to everybody is different. And so chase that happiness completely. If it's not what's happiness to your parents, your family, your friends, if you're scared you're going to lose some stuff while you chase that happiness, because maybe those people that love you for what you actually aren't, leave you for chasing your happiness, then they didn't love you. They didn't love you. They loved something that wasn't you. So if you lost that in the meantime,
you haven't lost anything. You haven't lost anything. Really needed.
Yeah. So yeah, I've loved talking to you, Jarett. I love this. I don't know how long we've been talking.
It's been let's call it a time warp.